on a moment before we start the exercise. I want to take a few moments to point out a few things. As you come into presence and come into consciousness and to start to practice some of the sit, sense, integrate, transcend, and so forth, some of those techniques, I want you to notice that as you come into that state, that expanded state of consciousness, that there are two things start to happen. One is time starts to become altered. Time starts to become altered. The more you come into presence and the more you come into consciousness, the more time seems to collapse and timelessness seems to emerge. The more time seems to collapse and timelessness seems to emerge, pay attention to that, because that's one of the markers that you're doing the thing we're supposed to be doing. And see if you can feel your way into, as the time collapses and that sense of expansion and timelessness occurs, you're also going to notice that there's a sense of boundarylessness that occurs. It seems as if your awareness is expanding to the room and to the sounds and out into the environment, but then you're going to notice that there's a consciousness behind that, within, behind, and all around, supporting that expanded awareness, and that consciousness is going even further and is, or has the sense of boundarylessness. So timelessness and boundarylessness comes into play. So pay attention to that. And also pay attention that distance, as you go into timelessness and boundarylessness, you're going to notice that as you're expanding, as you become more and more conscious of your consciousness, I hesitate to say aware because it's a subtler experience than we normally associate with awareness. As that happens, even though there's a sense of distance in the expansion, that's why we say expansions as if something is expanding or growing. But once you really get into that along with presence, you'll notice that there's an equanimity in your consciousness as it expands. So there isn't a distance from, for instance, it's not like I'm sitting here and my consciousness is expanding and expanding and expanding, and I'm a center, and there's an expanding circumference of like you might experience with awareness. With consciousness, that because there's an equal presence within the expansion, there's no distance. The circumference and the center, because they're connected, there's no distance. There's not a feeling of distance there. So also what happens as we come into consciousness is that there's a sense of distancelessness, timelessness, boundarylessness, and the base structures that are so difficult about our conventional lives, that is time, the duration of events, the fact that events end and lives end and things come and go, the duration is dissolved, and also the distance, hence the feeling of we're all one. The problem of existential isolation and loneliness is solved in the fact that the distance is collapsing, and the fact of time is getting resolved because the duration is collapsing. And when you start to experience that, you begin to realize that this consciousness, this primary state of being in which you are, is operating in another kind of dimension. It's not really operating. It's not occurring in time and space. Time and space are occurring in consciousness.